here we are in the baby shed. That's Apollo. Those little babies are hiding in the box right now. And there are a bunch of little fledglings looking beautiful. And he's doing a good job taking care of them. So, the 5th week of babyhood for these birds is hard to deal with. Because, there's Coco and Kobe. Because in regular parakeets, by the end of the 4th week, the babies are really well developed, getting ready to fly, out of the nest, running around, eating. But these birds are so much bigger, it takes them longer to grow up. So you get to see this extra week of baby care that needs to take place. But the hens are biologically programmed to reset, in other words, start a new nest right around 4 weeks of age, or maybe even a little before that. They'll start laying eggs again, and they stop feeding their older babies. Worst case scenario, they will kill an older baby to get it out of the nest so they can reset again. So you have that to contend with. The other thing is, as a hen's getting ready to reset, she'll block the male from feeding his own chicks because she gets jealous, because feeding is a part of their mating ritual. And she's come to think of the chicks as competition rather than her babies. So, how do you get them through? And through all of this, the chicks are fat and growing in all this extra feather and not really ready to launch. So how do you get them through that 5th week? Getting the parents to continue to care for babies through the 5th week is not an easy thing to do. For instance, this is Kobe and Coco, and their one chick is 22 days old, I think. And Coco has started blocking Kobe from going in the nest. Now, I pulled her in the hopes that he would carry on taking care of the babies, but apparently she's been blocking him out of that nest for long enough now so that he does not feed the babies anymore. So I took her out yesterday evening. I came in this morning, and the babies are on empty, and Kobe is not going in that nest. So I had to bring Coco back in again, and what I will do, clearly she's getting ready to reset. That's why she has separated the cock from the chicks. But what I'm going to do is this evening, I'm going to pull Kobe and leave her in there alone in the hopes that that will keep her from resetting too soon. Apollo, on the other hand, I pulled his hen. He knew his chicks were his chicks, and he's been feeding them faithfully, along with Haverty and alfalfa. We're at the end of the 5th week. His oldest, this is Buster, his oldest chick is 5.5 weeks old. But his youngest chick was significantly younger than the others. So although he's rejected his older chicks, this one he is still feeding. So I had to pull the older chicks because I don't want him to start rejecting this one just because the others are hanging around. So he's in here alone with this baby. And here is a chick cage. That is the two oldest chicks from Buster and the oldest chick from Persephone, who was raising her chicks on her own and managed to reset even though there was no cock in there. This is Neptune. He's not related to any of these chicks and completely disinclined to feed them or anything else, but they need an adult in the cage that will signal to them when it's time to eat, when it's safe, when the coast is clear, what to eat. So in other words, they want to imitate him. He doesn't need to feed them. They can feed themselves, but he's going to show them what to eat and when it's safe to be wandering around and eating. And he's going to encourage them to do things like climb up on the perch and practice flying. So they need an adult to model after, even if he's not actually feeding them. And adult males are very passive when it comes to babies. Like, oh, you're a baby, I'll leave you alone. So, Cookie's babies are doing great. He is still taking care of all of them. They'll be ready to launch in about, they're in their 5th week, and he's just still feeding them and taking care of them and showing them what to do, and they're obviously thriving because they're fat and sassy, so. But I have tried to find a way a method of dealing with this 5th week that was worked for everybody. Like, well, I tried pulling the nest box at 25 days to keep the hens from resetting, and just putting the babies in the bottom of the cage, you know, lining the cage so they weren't walking around on bars and stuff like that. That works for a lot of birds, but then it didn't. It stopped working. Then I tried pulling the cocks, I tried pulling all the hens, but some of the cocks don't feed the babies. Then I tried pulling all the cocks, but some of the hens don't feed the babies, and they flip before the babies are ready. So basically what it comes right down to is there's a trifecta. A nest box, a hen, and a cock will reset and leave babies that are not old enough yet starving. So you have to find a way to break up the trifecta. So a lot of times pulling the hen will work. A lot of times pulling the box will work. Sometimes it takes pulling the cock and leaving the hen in there alone. It's just really up for grabs. So here's some really good news. This little guy, this is my little crest baby that was doing like the stargazers, and he has completely normalized. No, let go, baby. See him running around in there? He's hiding from me, but he's completely normalized. He's upright, he walks, he stands up straight. There's nothing wrong with him. I have 2 other chicks that are doing this weird thing where the heads fall back, and I think what I have is some kind of equilibrium problem going on. And since they're in a dark nest, if they have an equilibrium problem, it doesn't get cured because there's no visual, what do you call it? There's not enough visual stuff to orient them inside the nest box. But the minute you pull them out, they start standing up straight and doing it normally. So I don't have to put anybody down. They're all going to normalize. It's just a little weird. I did treat them with ivermectin shortly during laying, so perhaps that was a mistake, and that's why I have this weirdness happening. But that is the good news. Man, that little guy is doing just fine. Fat and sassy. Oh, taking care of her baby. Oh, she little baby. Oh, she cute little baby. He's all fat and sassy. Okay, so that's it. We are struggling to get 8 families, 8 families through the 5th week of baby care. And like I said, Hunter's doing great. I pulled his hen yesterday. And I dropped Persephone's youngest chicken on him because it was an act of mercy. He had only 1 chick in the box, and he was feeding it so much it was going to explode. So I put a second one in there, and now they're both going to be really fat. So, and like I said, Coco came in and fed the babies that are in her nest, and I'm going to pull Kobe tonight so that she doesn't finish flipping all the way. Fingers crossed, because I fostered a baby that's 10 days younger than her baby, so there's this huge age discrepancy. She says, stand on my box. You see, so I have to keep her from flipping. The other thing I could end up doing is dropping him on Katesh, the youngest one, if she quits feeding him, because her babies are in that ballpark, but he's obviously a little older than they are, so it's going to be a challenge. And here, I'm going to fold up this video, so the last thing I do, what happened with these 2 is interesting. Cyan I got from a guy that said, no, she's infertile. I tried to breed her like 4 times. She never threw me an egg with anything in it. Well, I was like, well, did she lay eggs? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and were they normally formed? They had yolks in them and everything? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I think you're better to an infertile cock, because when hens are infertile, that's not the way it displays. When hens are infertile, either they don't lay at all, or they lay eggs with no yolks, or they lay eggs and the eggs are fertile, but all the embryos fizzle and never hatch. That's typical of old hens. So, I thought, I'm going to take her, and I put her in here with Poseidon, and it took forever for her to settle into the nest box, and I finally figured out that she didn't feel safe in the nest box. Every time I came in here, I was like, she never even looked in the nest box as far as I could tell, and then finally it occurred to me, maybe she just jumps out of it every time I come in. So I snuck up on them once and peeked in, and indeed she was in the nest box. But it took her nearly a month to settle in that nest box and be able to stay in it without being afraid. And during that process, she laid 2 eggs that never developed, which I think was probably because she would jump out of the nest box when I came in to feed the birds, and it takes me over an hour. So those eggs would go cold. So as they started to develop, they died. But finally, she decided to sit and stay put, and she has 3 eggs with fertility in them, so she's not infertile. And 2 of them have hatched, but I need to take a look at those babies. So what I've been doing is this, she's always the last one I touch before I leave, because I need to leave so she can go back in her box. So I'll show you them, and then I'm going to turn it off because I got to examine the babies and I need both hands. So go on, Missy. Out you go. They look really good. Come on, all the way. Oh, now she doesn't want to get out. Look at her. She's like, I'm not leaving my baby. Okay, they look, actually, I'm not going to pick them up. They look pretty well formed. Well, maybe I should pick up the biggest one. Make sure they're getting enough calcium. His legs are a little on the short side, but other than that, he looks really good. One of those 3 eggs still has an embryo in it. So I'm going to wait and see what happens, but they're in good shape. Okay. All right, I got to leave now. So that's Cyan right there. Oh, she's got goo around her face. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to check her. She just pooed and it's solid, so. Okay. So that's Cyan. You will probably not see her again until her babies have fledged.